The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor, crystal shards scattering like diamonds across the restaurant's polished surface. Nia's breath caught in her throat as Derek's fingers wrapped around her wrist, his grip bruising, possessive. Around them, the elegant dining room of Lumiere fell silent, expensive conversations dying mid-sentence as wealthy patrons turned to stare. "How you think you're so smart, don't you?" Derek hissed, his face inches from hers, breath hot with expensive bourbon and rage. "Smiling at every man who walks through that door like you're available." Nia's heart hammered against her ribs. She'd learned long ago not to argue when he got like this, when jealousy twisted his handsome features into something ugly and dangerous. "I was doing my job," she said quietly, trying to pull her arm free. His grip tightened. "We'll settle this when we get home." The words were a promise and a threat. But then she noticed something that made her blood run even colder. The man at the next table had stopped eating. His dark eyes were fixed on Derek's hand around her wrist, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. 3 hours earlier, Nia Washington had arrived at Lumiere, with hope flickering in her chest like a candle in the wind. The upscale French restaurant on Chicago's Gold Coast represented everything she was working toward. As a server here, she earned enough to cover her small studio apartment in Bronzeville and send money home to her grandmother in Atlanta. She smoothed down her crisp white blouse and black pencil skirt, checking her reflection in the staff bathroom mirror. Her natural curls were pulled back in a neat bun, her makeup subtle but polished. Professional, composed. Nothing like the girl who'd grown up in Section 8 housing. "Girl, you're glowing tonight," Jasmine said, appearing beside her to reapply her lipstick. Her best friend and fellow server had been working at Lumiere for 5 years. Nia managed a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Derek's coming in tonight. Anniversary dinner." Jasmine's reflection frowned. 2 years, right? The hesitation in her friend's voice spoke volumes. Jasmine had never liked Derek, though she'd learned to keep her opinions mostly to herself. What did Jasmine know about the real Derek anyway? The one who brought her flowers after a long shift, who talked about their future together, who promised her a life beyond serving tables. True, he had a temper. True, he could be controlling. But he loved her. He told her so constantly, reminded her that no one else would put up with a waitress with nothing to her name. The dinner service began with its usual controlled chaos. Nia moved through the dining room with practiced grace, balancing trays of expensive wine and artfully plated dishes. She'd learned to make herself invisible here, to anticipate needs before they were spoken. At 8:30, Derek arrived. He cut a striking figure in his tailored suit, working in pharmaceutical sales, a job that paid well and came with a company car. To the outside world, they made an attractive couple, but Nia knew the signs. She saw the tightness around his mouth, the way his jaw clenched. He was already in a mood. "You look nice," she said carefully, as she approached his table during her break. "This place is overpriced," he said, instead of returning the compliment. "We could have gone somewhere reasonable." "You picked it," Nia reminded him gently. His eyes snapped to hers, cold and assessing. "Are you arguing with me?" "No, baby." She reached across the table, touching his hand. "I'm happy to be here with you." The tension in his shoulders eased slightly. This was the dance they did, the careful choreography she'd learned through trial and painful error. Agree, soothe, defuse. Their dinner proceeded with forced normalcy. Derek ordered for both of them without asking what she wanted. He talked about his sales numbers, about the promotion that was definitely coming soon. Nia listened, nodded, asked appropriate questions, but then Marcus Chen walked in. Nia recognized him immediately. He was a regular, a tech entrepreneur who always left generous tips. Tonight he'd been seated in her section by mistake, and when he'd arrived earlier, he'd complimented her service with genuine warmth. "Miss Washington," Marcus said, stopping by their table with a friendly smile, "I wanted to thank you again for accommodating my dietary restrictions earlier. Best meal I've had here." It was innocent, professional, the kind of interaction she had with customers dozens of times a shift. But she saw Derek's face transform, saw the jealousy flash in his eyes. "We're having a private dinner," Derek said coldly. Marcus blinked, surprised by the hostility. "Of course. My apologies." He nodded politely and moved on, but the damage was done. "Who the hell was that?" Derek's voice was low, dangerous. "A customer." He was just being polite. Polite. Derek laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Is that what you call it when you're flirting with other men while I'm sitting right here?" Her heart began to race. They were in public. He wouldn't make a scene here, would he? But she'd underestimated how much he'd had to drink, By the time dessert arrived, he was making pointed comments about her uniform, about how she carried herself, about whether she enjoyed the attention from male customers. "I think we should go," Nia said quietly. "Let's talk about this at home." "Oh, now you want to leave? Now that you've gotten your fill of being looked at?" "Derek, please, you're being loud." That was the wrong thing to say. His face darkened, and in one swift motion, he stood, his chair scraping loudly. His hand shot out, gripping her wrist as she tried to stand. "Don't you dare walk away from me," he said, his voice carrying across the suddenly quiet restaurant. That was when the champagne glass fell. She wasn't even sure if he'd knocked it over deliberately. But suddenly there was broken crystal on the floor, and everyone was staring, and Derek's fingers were digging into her wrist so hard she knew there would be bruises tomorrow. "We'll settle this when we get home." The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. This was it. She'd lose her job. Everyone was watching. Her manager was already moving toward them, but then a voice cut through the tension, smooth as silk and cold as winter. "I believe the lady would prefer you let her go." Nia's gaze snapped to the speaker. The man at the adjacent table had risen to his feet, and something about his presence made the air itself seem to shift. He was Korean, impeccably dressed in a black suit that probably cost more than her car. His dark hair was styled with casual precision, and his eyes were like black ice, beautiful and terrifying at once. But it wasn't just his appearance. It was something else, something that made even Derek hesitate. An aura of power, of danger barely leashed. The two men flanking him had risen as well, their hands inside their jackets in a way that suggested they weren't reaching for wallets. Derek's grip loosened slightly, but his pride wouldn't let him back down completely. "This is a private matter. Mind your own business." The Korean man smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "In my experience, when a man must hurt a woman to keep her, he doesn't deserve to have her at all." There was something in his voice, an accent, subtle but unmistakable, that spoke of Seoul's streets despite his perfect English. And there was something else, too, a note of absolute certainty, as if he was accustomed to being obeyed without question. "Who the hell do you think you are?" Derek demanded, but Nia heard the tremor beneath the bravado. "Someone you don't want to know." The man's eyes never left Derek's face. "Let her go. Leave. Don't come back." It wasn't a request. It was a command, delivered with the kind of authority that made Derek's hand fall away from Nia's wrist, as if she'd burned him. For a moment, the two men stared at each other, and Nia held her breath. Then Derek stumbled backward, his face flushed with alcohol and humiliation. "This isn't over," he muttered. But he was already moving toward the door, his exit hastened by the two imposing men who'd stepped forward. The restaurant slowly came back to life. Nia stood frozen, her wrist throbbing, her mind struggling to process what had just happened. "Are you hurt?" The question was quiet, almost gentle. No, thank you. You didn't have to do that." His eyes dropped to her wrist, where red marks were already forming. Something flickered across his face, fury quickly controlled. "I think I did." He gestured to his table. "Please sit. You're shaking." She was. Her manager appeared, fussing and apologetic, insisting she take the rest of the night off. The stranger said something to her manager in a low voice that made the man's eyes widen and his protests die immediately. "Of course, Mr. Choi. Whatever you need, Mr. Choi." As Nia sank into the offered chair, she wondered what kind of power he wielded to make her manager turn so accommodating. "I'm Seung-jun," he said, pouring her a glass of water. "And you're Nia. I heard your friend say it." "He's not my friend, he's—" She stopped, not sure what Derek was anymore. "You don't have to explain." Seung-jun's voice was calm. "Do you have somewhere safe to stay tonight?" The question hit her hard. Did she? Her apartment was in Derek's name. She'd moved in with him 6 months ago to save money. "I'll figure something out," she said. Seung-jun leaned back, studying her. "I have a proposition for you." And just like that, Nia Washington's life tilted on its axis. The penthouse suite at the Four Seasons overlooked Lake Michigan, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the city lights. Nia stood in the center of the living room, feeling completely out of place, her small purse clutched in both hands. This was insane. She'd just gotten into a car with a complete stranger and let him bring her to a hotel suite that probably cost more per night than she made in a month. But the alternative had been going back to Derek. "You can relax," Seung-jun said, shrugging out of his suit jacket. "I'm not going to hurt you." "That's exactly what someone who was going to hurt me would say." To her surprise, he laughed. "Fair point. But if I wanted to hurt you, I'd have done it already." There was something chilling about the casual way he said it. Nia's survival instincts were screaming at her to leave, but something else told her to stay. You said you had a proposition. Seung-jun moved to the bar, pouring himself a drink. He held up the bottle in silent question, but she shook her head. I need someone I can trust, he said. Someone smart, observant, who knows how to read people. Someone who can move through high-end spaces without attracting the wrong kind of attention. And you think that's me? You don't even know me. He turned, his dark eyes pinning her in place. I know you've been working at Lumiere for 8 months. I know you send money to your grandmother in Atlanta every month. I know you have a degree in hospitality management, but can't get promoted because your boyfriend sabotaged your last 2 job interviews. The blood drained from her face. How do you... I know things. It's my business to know things. He took a sip of his drink. You need protection, and I can provide it. In exchange, you work for me. Work for you doing what exactly? I have legitimate business interests that require a public face. Someone who can attend events, entertain clients, make connections. Someone who doesn't look like they're part of my usual organization. Your usual organization? Nia repeated slowly. You mean the Korean Mafia? She watched his expression carefully. She'd spent 2 years learning to read Derek's micro-expressions. This man was harder to read, his control more absolute. But she caught the slight tightening around his eyes. That's an oversimplification, he said finally, but not entirely inaccurate. And you want me to work for criminals? I want to offer you a way out. His voice hardened slightly. You go back to your life and Derek will be waiting. Maybe not tonight, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. And next time, it won't be just your wrist. The words hit too close to home. She'd been telling herself for months that Derek's jealousy was just passion, that his control was just concern. But tonight had proven it was escalating. What exactly would this job entail? Seung-jun's expression softened slightly. You'd attend business dinners, charity events, gallery openings, places where I need someone who can make conversation, remember faces, observe. You'd report back on who's talking to whom, what deals are being discussed. Nothing dangerous, just eyes and ears. A spy, an observer. There's a difference. He moved to the windows. I'd provide you with an apartment, a salary, a wardrobe appropriate for the role. After 6 months, if you want to walk away, you walk away. No strings. But you'd have enough money saved to start over somewhere else, somewhere Derek can't find you. It sounded too good to be true. And if I say no, then I'll have someone drive you wherever you want to go. You'll never see me again. He turned back to face her. But the offer expires when you walk out that door. Why me? Because you have something most people don't. Seung-jun's gaze was intense. You have nothing to lose and everything to prove. That makes you hungry. It also makes you loyal if given the chance. And because when that piece of shit grabbed you tonight, you didn't cry, you didn't beg, you didn't fall apart. You held yourself together. That takes strength. The compliment caught her off guard. Derek had spent 2 years telling her she was weak, that she needed him. I need to think about it. Take the night. There's a bedroom through that door. It locks from the inside. Nobody will bother you. Seung-jun moved toward the suite's entrance. In the morning, give me your answer. He was almost at the door when Nia spoke again. Why did you help me tonight? Really? Seung-jun paused. When he looked back at her, something raw flickered across his face. Because 5 years ago, someone hurt someone I cared about, and I wasn't there to stop it. I can't change the past, but I can make sure it doesn't happen again, even if it's for a stranger in a restaurant. His voice was quiet. Get some rest, Nia. Tomorrow, you get to choose what happens next. Then he was gone, leaving her alone with a choice that would define her future. Nia moved to the window, pressing her palm against the cool glass. Far below, the city glittered and churned. Somewhere out there, Derek was probably calling her phone, leaving messages that swung between apology and accusation. She touched her bruised wrist. 2 years. 2 years of walking on eggshells, of making herself smaller, of believing his version of reality. Seung-jun's words echoed, You have nothing to lose and everything to prove. Maybe he was right. Maybe the only thing more dangerous than accepting his offer was refusing it. The bedroom was luxurious. King-sized bed with soft linens, an ensuite bathroom with marble fixtures. Nia locked the door as Seung-jun had suggested, then stood in the shower for 20 minutes, letting hot water wash away the smell of Derek's cologne. When she finally climbed into bed, her phone buzzed. 23 missed calls from Derek, 15 text messages, progressing from apologetic to angry to threatening. With shaking fingers, she blocked his number. It wasn't enough. She knew he'd find other ways, but it was something. A first step. As she drifted off to sleep, her last thought was of Seung-jun's eyes, dark and dangerous, yes, but also strangely understanding. Tomorrow would bring consequences she couldn't predict. But tonight, for the first time in a very long time, Nia Washington felt like she could breathe. Morning arrived with gentle sunlight streaming through the windows. A soft knock on the bedroom door made her jump. "Miss Washington." It was a woman's voice. "Mr. Choi sent me with some clothes and breakfast." Nia wrapped herself in the hotel robe and unlocked the door. A young Korean woman entered, pushing a cart laden with breakfast and carrying shopping bags. "I'm Min Seo, Mr. Choi's assistant," the woman said with a slight bow. "He thought you might need these." She gestured to the bags. "Clothes, toiletries. He'll meet you in the dining room when you're ready." The clothes were perfect. A simple but elegant black dress, comfortable shoes, understated jewelry. Expensive but not flashy. He'd thought of everything. 40 minutes later, Nia found Seung-jun in the suite's dining area, reading something on his tablet, looking perfectly relaxed in dark slacks and a crisp white shirt. "The dress fits," he observed. "How did you know my size?" "I'm observant." He set down his tablet and gestured to the chair across from him. "Have you eaten?" Nia sat, eyeing the spread of food with barely concealed hunger. She hadn't eaten since lunch yesterday. "I've thought about your offer," she said. "And? I have conditions." Seung-jun leaned back, amusement in his eyes. "I'm listening. First, nothing illegal. I won't break the law for you." "Agreed. What you'd be doing is perfectly legal, attending events, making observations. Second, if I'm uncomfortable with anything you ask me to do, I can refuse without consequences." He considered this. "Within reason, but I won't force you into situations that compromise your ethics or safety. Third, after 6 months, I walk away clean. No obligations, no debts. Agreed, with one caveat. If you learn sensitive information, you take it to your grave. Betrayal has consequences, Nia." The way he said it made her blood run cold, but she met his gaze without flinching. "I don't betray people who keep their word to me." Something flickered in Seung-jun's eyes. Respect, maybe. "Then we have a deal." He extended his hand across the table. Nia stared at it for a long moment. Then she thought of Derek's hands around her wrist, of his voice promising they'd settle this at home. She took Seung-jun's hand. His grip was firm but not crushing, warm but not possessive. "When do I start?" "Today. We'll get you moved into your new apartment. Tonight, there's a charity gala at the Art Institute. I need a date." "A date?" "A companion for the evening," Seung-jun corrected smoothly. "I need someone who can make conversation, remember faces. Think of it as a trial run. I've never been to a gala before. You've worked hundreds of them at Lumiere. You know the rhythm. You just haven't worn the expensive dress before." He stood, pulling out his phone. "Tae-yang will take you shopping. Get whatever you need." He slid a black credit card across the table. "I can't just—" "You can, and you will. You represent me now, that means dressing the part." His voice softened. "Consider it a work uniform." After he left, Nia sat alone with her coffee, trying to process how completely her life had changed in less than 12 hours. Her phone buzzed. A new number saved as Seung-jun. The text was brief. "The apartment is in Lincoln Park. 3-bedroom, full security. Your name is on the lease. Keys will be delivered today. SJ. 3 bedrooms. Lincoln Park, where studios went for twice what she currently paid." This was real. Another text came through from Jasmine. "Where are you? Derek came by looking for you. He's pissed. Are you okay?" Nia's fingers hovered over the keyboard. Finally, "I'm safe. Can't explain yet. Don't worry about me and don't tell Derek anything if he asks, please. Girl, you're scaring me. Call me when you can. Soon, I promise." Tae-yang knocked minutes later. The man who entered was younger than she'd expected, maybe late 20s with an easy smile. "Miss Washington," he said with a slight bow. "Ready to go shopping? Please call me Nia. And I should tell you, I have no idea what I'm doing." Tae-yang's smile widened. "Then it's lucky I do." The next several hours passed in a blur of high-end boutiques. Tae-yang navigated the shopping district like a general, steering her toward elegant pieces that somehow looked perfect on her. "How do you know so much about women's fashion?" Nia asked as he evaluated a midnight blue gown. 5 sisters, he replied with a grin. "This one," he held up the dress, "is timeless. You'll wear it tonight. Seung-jun must trust you a lot." Tae-yang's expression grew serious. "I've worked for him since we were kids in Seoul. He saved my life once. I owe him everything." What happened? That's his story to tell, not mine. He handed her the dress. Try these on. We're running out of time. The blue dress fit like it had been made for her. When she stepped out, Tae-yang whistled low. Boss is going to lose his mind. That's not the goal, Nia said quickly, feeling heat rise in her cheeks. Isn't it? Tae-yang's eyes were knowing. You're smart, beautiful, and you don't take shit from anyone, trust me, he noticed. This is a business arrangement. Sure it is. Tae-yang's smile suggested he knew better. By the time they finished, Nia felt like she'd stepped into someone else's life. The woman in the mirror looked nothing like the waitress who'd served tables last night. When Tae-yang pulled up to a beautiful building in Lincoln Park, when he handed her the keys to an apartment that took her breath away, home suddenly felt like a possibility. Her phone buzzed. Seung-jun again. I'll pick you up at 7. Wear the blue dress. SJ. How did he know about the blue dress? Nia asked Tae-yang. The younger man just laughed. He knows everything, you'll get used to it. At 6:45 she started getting ready, her hands only shaking a little as she zipped up the blue dress. Tonight she'd step into Seung-jun's world. When the knock came at exactly 7 o'clock, she opened the door to find Seung-jun in a perfectly tailored tuxedo, his eyes widening slightly when he saw her. You look magnificent, he said. Thank you. Nia grabbed her clutch. I'm ready. As they rode the elevator down, Seung-jun briefed her. There will be several men there tonight, businessmen, politicians, people with influence. I need you to listen to their conversations. Remember who's talking to whom. Can you do that? I remember orders for 12 top tables without writing anything down. I think I can handle it. He smiled, a real smile that transformed his face. I knew I chose well. The gala was everything Nia had imagined. Crystal chandeliers, designer gowns, champagne flowing like water. She'd served at dozens of events like this, invisible in her uniform. But walking in on Seung-jun's arm, people noticed her. Seung-jun was a master of social navigation, moving through the crowd with easy confidence, introducing her as his associate in a way that suggested both business and something more personal. Nia played her part perfectly, smiling and making small talk while her mind catalogued everything. She was so focused that she almost didn't notice Derek until it was too late. He was across the room near the bar, and their eyes locked for one terrible moment. His face transformed, surprise then rage. He started moving toward them. Nia's hand found Seung-jun's arm, her grip tight. Derek's here. Seung-jun followed her gaze, his expression hardening. Stay behind me. But before Derek could reach them, Tae-yang appeared, intercepting him with a pleasant smile and a hand that gripped Derek's elbow. I don't think you were invited to this event, Tae-yang said. Let me show you out. Get your fucking hands off me, Derek snarled, but security guards were already moving toward them. Seung-jun turned to Nia, his voice low and urgent. Are you okay? She nodded, but her whole body was trembling. How did he find me? That's what we're going to find out. His eyes were cold, dangerous, but not here, come on. They left through a side entrance, Seung-jun's hand on the small of her back. In the car, he made several phone calls in rapid Korean, his voice hard and commanding. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I ruined your evening. Seung-jun turned to her, surprise clear on his face. You didn't ruin anything. He did, and he'll pay for it. What are you going to do to him? Make sure he understands that you're under my protection now. His eyes met hers in the dim interior. No one hurts what's mine, Nia. Not anymore. The words sent a shiver through her, fear and something else, something warm and dangerous. This wasn't romance. This was survival, strategy, a business arrangement. But as his hand covered hers on the seat between them, warm and steady, Nia wondered if she was already too late for that warning. The next 2 weeks fell into an unexpected rhythm. Days, Nia attended meetings with Seung-jun, took notes, observed conversations. Nights, she returned to her beautiful apartment and catalogued what she'd learned. Derek hadn't contacted her directly since the gala, but his presence haunted her. Tae-yang mentioned that Seung-jun's people were handling it, but wouldn't elaborate. What she hadn't expected was how much time she'd spend with Seung-jun himself. He personally escorted her to events, debriefed her afterward over late dinners, occasionally invited her to lunches where business and something more personal blurred together. You're adapting faster than I expected, he said, over Korean barbecue one afternoon. Tae-yang said you've been taking language lessons. I figured if I'm going to work in your world, I should understand it better. Nia flipped a piece of bulgogi. Plus, I like learning. Derek always said education was a waste of time for someone like me, but she stopped. Someone like you. Seung-jun repeated, his voice dangerously soft. What did he mean by that? Nothing. Just, someone from my background. Your background of being intelligent, hard-working and capable. His eyes were intense. The man was a fool, Nia. He saw what he wanted to see, someone he could control. He never saw who you actually are. The compliment made her chest tight. And who am I, according to you? Seung-jun leaned back. Someone who survived circumstances that would have broken most people. Someone who knows how to observe and adapt. Someone who carries herself with dignity, even when the world tries to strip it away. He paused. Someone who reminds me of myself, actually. I doubt that. You have power, money, control. I wasn't always this person. His voice was quiet. I grew up in Seoul, in neighborhoods where power meant survival. My father ran a small organization, but he wasn't strong enough to hold it. When I was 15, a rival family killed him and tried to kill me too. Nia's chopsticks stilled. I'm sorry. I survived because someone saw potential in me. He took me in, trained me, helped me build what I have now. But I remember what it felt like to be powerless, to be underestimated. His eyes met hers. So when I see that same fire in you, that same determination to be more than what others expect, I recognize it. It was the most personal thing he'd ever shared. Nia found herself leaning forward. Is that why you helped me? Maybe. Or maybe I just couldn't stand watching another person be broken by someone who should have protected them. He reached across the table, his fingers brushing her healed wrist. You're safe now, Nia. I promise you that. The sincerity in his voice made her breath catch. This was more than a business arrangement. Somewhere in the past 2 weeks, lines had blurred. She'd started looking forward to seeing him, started noticing things like how his eyes crinkled when he laughed, and the way he looked at her sometimes made her feel things she had no business feeling. Seung-jun, she started, not sure what she wanted to say, but his phone buzzed, and the moment shattered. He checked the screen, his expression darkening. We need to go, now. What's wrong? Derek's at your building. He followed you this morning. My security caught him trying to talk his way past the doorman. Ice flooded her veins. How did he find out where I live? Good question. Seung-jun was already standing, one I intend to get answered. They drove in tense silence, Seung-jun making calls in clipped Korean. When they arrived, Derek was being held by 2 of Seung-jun's men in the lobby, his face red with rage. He looked terrible, unshaven, rumpled, his eyes wild. Nia! He lurched toward her when he saw her. Baby, please, just talk to me. I'm sorry about the restaurant. I was drunk. I didn't mean it. Just come home and we can work this out. Every instinct screamed at her to placate him, but Seung-jun's hand on her back, steady and reassuring, reminded her that she didn't have to do that anymore. There's nothing to work out, Derek. We're done. Done? He laughed, ugly and broken. You're nothing without me. You think this guy actually cares about you. You're just a novelty to him. He'll use you and throw you away. Somewhere better than I was with you, Nia said, surprised by the steadiness of her own voice. Derek's face twisted. You ungrateful bitch. After everything I did for you. Enough. Seung-jun's voice cut through Derek's tirade like a blade. He stepped forward, positioning himself between them. You had your chance to speak. She's given you her answer. If you contact her again, if you come near her again, you'll answer to me. Do you understand? I don't take orders from you, Derek spat. I don't care how much money you have. She's my girlfriend, and I'm not giving her up to some gangster. Seung-jun moved so fast, Nia almost didn't see it. One moment he was standing calmly. The next he had Derek's wrist twisted at an angle that made Derek cry out. She was never yours, Seung-jun said, deadly quiet. And she's definitely not anymore. This is your only warning. Walk away, because if you force me to handle this more permanently, you won't like the result. He released Derek, who stumbled back, cradling his wrist. For a moment, Nia thought Derek might fight, but something in Seung-jun's eyes must have penetrated his rage. This isn't over, Derek muttered, but he was already backing toward the door. Yes, Seung-jun said. It is. After Derek was escorted out, Nia was alone in the lobby with Seung-jun, her whole body shaking. He knows where I live now, she said. I'm not safe here anymore. You're safe anywhere I am, Seung-jun replied. But if it would make you feel better, you can stay at the penthouse until we're certain he's gotten the message. Your place. I have a second bedroom. Or you can have mine. I'll take the couch. His expression softened. I'm not going to let him hurt you again, Nia, whatever it takes. The fierce protectiveness in his voice broke through her careful walls. Before she could talk herself out of it, Nia closed the distance between them and wrapped her arms around him. For a moment, Seung-jun went rigid with surprise. Then his arms came around her, holding her close, one hand cradling the back of her head. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything. For saving me, for protecting me, for seeing me as more than what Derek tried to make me." "You saved yourself," Seung-jun murmured into her hair. "I just opened the door." They stood like that for a long moment, and Nia felt something shift, the last pretense of this being purely business crumbling away. "Come on," he said finally, his voice rougher than usual. "Let's get you packed." At the penthouse, Seung-jun showed her to the guest room. "Make yourself comfortable. I have some calls to make, but I'll be here if you need anything." After he left, Nia sat on the edge of the bed, finally letting herself feel everything. Fear, relief, gratitude, and underneath it all, something warm and terrifying that felt dangerously like falling. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Seung-jun stood in the doorway, now in comfortable clothes, black sweatpants and a fitted t-shirt. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Too much on my mind." He moved into the room, maintaining a respectful distance. "Want to talk about it?" "I'm scared," Nia admitted. "Not of Derek, but of this. Of what happens when I get too comfortable, too dependent. What happens after 6 months when I'm supposed to walk away?" Seung-jun was quiet for a long moment. "What if you didn't have to walk away?" Her heart stuttered. "What? The 6 months was to give you an out if you wanted it. But if you wanted to stay, that would be acceptable too." "Why?" Nia stood, closing the distance. "Why do you want me to stay?" "Because you're good at this. Because you've become valuable." He paused, vulnerable in a way she'd rarely heard. "Because somewhere in the past 2 weeks, you became someone I look forward to seeing, someone whose opinion I value, someone I want to protect, not out of obligation, but because the thought of anything happening to you makes me—" He stopped. "Makes you what?" Nia prompted, barely breathing. "Afraid," he finished quietly. "I don't do fear, Nia, I can't afford it. But with you I'm terrified every moment you're out of my sight. That's not professional concern, that's something else entirely." The confession hung in the air. Nia knew she should step back, should maintain distance, but she was tired of denying what she felt. "I'm afraid too," she whispered, "but not of you. I'm afraid of how much I'm starting to need you." Seung-jun closed the last distance between them, his hand cupping her face with unexpected gentleness. "Then maybe we can be afraid together." When he kissed her, it wasn't like anything she'd experienced before. Derek's kisses had been about possession. This was different, careful, questioning, as if Seung-jun was giving her every opportunity to pull away. She didn't pull away. Instead, she leaned into him, her hands finding his shoulders. There was heat, yes, but underneath was something more profound, recognition maybe, or homecoming. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Seung-jun rested his forehead against hers. "This complicates things. I know. There are people who won't like it, who will see it as weakness. I know. And Derek will become even more dangerous if he finds out. I know." Nia pulled back to meet his eyes. "But I'm tired of making decisions based on fear. For once I want to choose something because it feels right." Seung-jun smiled, that rare, genuine smile. "When did you become so brave?" "I learned from someone." They stayed up talking until dawn, lying on the guest room bed fully clothed, sharing stories and secrets. Seung-jun told her about Seoul, about the violence that had shaped him, about the loneliness of power. Nia told him about Atlanta, about growing up poor but loved, about losing herself in Derek's control. By the time pale light filtered through the windows, they'd become something new. Partners, maybe, or conspirators in a shared future. "Get some sleep," Seung-jun said finally, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "We have a meeting this afternoon. Will they have a problem with it?" "Some will." He stood. "But they'll adjust. Anyone who has a problem with you has a problem with me." After he left, Nia lay in the growing light, exhausted, but too wired to sleep. Everything had changed again, but this time she'd been the one to change it. She'd chosen Seung-jun, and he'd chosen her back. For the first time in longer than she could remember, Nia Washington felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. The next month unfolded like a fever dream. By day, Nia continued her work, now acknowledged as Seung-jun's partner, professionally and personally. His associates adjusted with varying degrees of acceptance. Some, like Taeyang, seemed genuinely pleased. Others watched with suspicion. She didn't fail. Her new position gave her access to conversations she'd never have attended as just an employee. She learned the intricate politics of Seung-jun's world, the delicate balance between legitimate business and less legal enterprises. But it was the nights that changed her most. Seung-jun courted her with surprising patience, taking her to quiet restaurants where they could talk for hours, showing her parts of Chicago she'd never seen. He was careful with her in ways Derek had never been, attentive, interested, protective, without being controlling. "You're thinking too hard again," Seung-jun said one evening as they stood on his penthouse balcony. "I'm always thinking," Nia replied, leaning into his warmth. "You don't have to just survive anymore." His arms came around her from behind. "You can live. Is that what this is? Living?" She turned to face him. "Because sometimes it still feels like I'm waiting for everything to collapse." "Nothing's going to collapse," Seung-jun said firmly. "Not while I'm here." "You can't promise that. Derek's still out there. Your enemies are still watching." "Then we'll handle them." He cupped her face. "Together. That's what partners do. Partners." The word had weight now. Nia had gone from Derek's possession to Seung-jun's employee to something she couldn't quite name. Equal, maybe, or complement. But reality came crashing back on a Thursday afternoon when Tae-yang burst into Seung-jun's office. "We have a problem," he said. "Derek filed a police report claiming Nia stole from him. He's got receipts, photos. He's pushing for charges." Nia's stomach dropped. "That's insane." "I took my own things." "Doesn't matter what's true," Tae-yang interrupted. "He's got a lawyer. They're building a case." "They won't," Seung-jun cut in, his voice ice-cold. "I'll handle it." "How?" Nia asked. "You can't just make legal charges disappear." "It is in my world." Seung-jun was already reaching for his phone. "Derek wants to play dirty. We'll show him what dirty actually looks like." "No." Nia put her hand over his. "I won't let you compromise yourself for me. It's too late for that." His eyes met hers, fierce and unyielding. "You're already my biggest compromise. You're the person who makes me want to be better. But I'm still who I am, Nia. And what I am is someone who destroys threats to what I love." The word hung between them. Love. He'd never said it before. "You love me," Nia whispered. "More than is wise," Seung-jun admitted. "More than is safe. But yes." Before Nia could respond, his phone rang. He answered in rapid Korean, his expression darkening further. When he hung up, his eyes were flat and cold. "Derek's escalated. He sold information about my operations to the FBI. They're investigating me. He gave them everything he could find about you, about us." The room spun. "How did he get that information?" "He's been following you, photographing you at meetings, documenting people you've met with." Seung-jun's voice was deadly calm. "He's trying to take you down with me." "Then let him," Nia said suddenly. "Let him tell whatever story he wants. I'll testify that I didn't know anything. They can't prove otherwise. You'd be lying under oath. To protect you." Nia moved closer, taking his face in her hands. "You said we're partners. Let me be one. Let me protect you the way you've protected me." "No." Seung-jun pulled her hands down but held them. "I won't let you destroy yourself for me." "Then what do we do?" Tae-yang's phone buzzed. He checked it, his face going pale. "Boss, we have a bigger problem. Derek's not working alone. He's partnered with the Hwang organization. They're using his testimony to move against our territory. This isn't just revenge. It's a coordinated attack. The Hwangs, a rival Korean organization that had been testing Seung-jun's boundaries for months, and Derek had given them exactly what they needed. "How long do we have?" Seung-jun asked. "They're moving tonight, multiple hits across the city. It's comprehensive." Tae-yang's voice was grim. "Then we fight back." Seung-jun moved toward the safe. Around him, the veneer of legitimate businessman fell away, revealing the dangerous man underneath. "Nia," he said, turning to her, "I need you to go somewhere safe." "No, I'm staying with you." "This isn't negotiable." "Neither is this." Nia stood her ground. "You don't send me away when things get dangerous. That's not how we work. If something happens to you because of me, then that's my choice to make." She grabbed his arm. "I chose this life. I chose you. I'm not running." For a moment she saw him struggle. Finally he nodded. "Stay behind me. Do exactly what I say. Understood?" "Understood." The next hours blurred into controlled chaos. Seung-jun coordinated his response with military precision, positioning people across the city, preparing for the Hwang's assault. And then Derek called her personal phone. "You need to answer it," Seung-jun said. On speaker. With shaking fingers, Nia accepted the call. "What do you want, Derek?" "I want you to understand what you've done." Derek's voice was triumphant. "You thought you could just leave me? I'm going to destroy him, Nia. I'm going to destroy everything he's built, and you're going to watch. Why? Naya's voice was steady despite her anger. Why go this far? You made me look weak. Derek's composure cracked. You left me for him. Everyone knows. Everyone's laughing at me. Do you have any idea what that's like? I was never yours to lose, Nia said quietly, and you were never strong enough to keep me. That's not my failure, Derek. It's yours. She hung up, her hands steadying. When she looked up, Seung-jun was watching her with something like awe. That was brave, he said. No, Nia corrected. That was free. Before Seung-jun could respond, phones started ringing. The Hwangs were moving. Across Chicago, violence erupted. But Seung-jun had prepared. His people pushed back hard, and what should have been devastating became a stalemate, then a reversal. By midnight, it was clear the Hwangs had overreached. Seung-jun's organization held firm, but the real turning point came when the FBI agent coordinating with Derek called Seung-jun directly. We need to talk, the agent said. Your witness has credibility problems. Derek had lied about multiple things. Items he claimed Nia stole were actually his own purchases. His timeline didn't match security footage. He'd been so focused on revenge that he'd been sloppy. More than that, Derek's connection to the Hwangs had been documented. Text messages, bank transfers, recorded conversations. In his eagerness to hurt them, Derek had committed crimes of his own. He's looking at serious charges, the FBI agent said. Might want to cooperate against the Hwangs. And my investigation, Seung-jun asked carefully. Still ongoing. But without your witness, we don't have much. You're good at keeping your hands clean, Mr. Choi. When Seung-jun hung up, the relief was palpable. It wasn't over, not completely, but the immediate threat had passed. Derek's attack had failed. It's done, Seung-jun said, pulling Nia into his arms. He can't hurt you anymore. Nia buried her face in his chest, finally allowing herself to shake. What happens to him now? Prison, probably. Several years. He made too many mistakes. Seung-jun's hand stroked her hair. He's not your problem anymore. I should feel bad for him, Nia whispered. But I don't. I just feel relieved. Free. Good. That's exactly what you should feel. He pulled back to look at her. You were incredible tonight. You're stronger than you know. I learned from someone, Nia said. As dawn broke over Chicago, Nia and Seung-jun stood together on his balcony, watching the city wake up. What happens now? She asked. Now, Seung-jun said, turning her to face him. We settle this. He dropped to one knee and Nia's breath caught. I know it's fast, Seung-jun said, pulling a small box from his pocket. I know we've only known each other for 2 months. I know this life is complicated and dangerous, but I also know that I've never met anyone who challenges me, who matches me, who makes me want to be better the way you do. So I'm asking, will you stay? Not as an employee, not as a temporary arrangement, but as my partner in everything. Marry me, Nia. The ring was beautiful, a deep blue sapphire surrounded by small diamonds. Yes, she said, the word somewhere between a laugh and a sob. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Seung-jun stood, sliding the ring onto her finger before capturing her mouth in a kiss that tasted like promise and possibility and home. You know people will talk, Nia said, admiring the ring. We'll settle this when we get home, they'll say. We'll settle this when we get home, Seung-jun repeated, pulling her close. But we're already home, Nia. We've been home since the moment we found each other. Standing there in his arms, with the city spreading out below and the future opening ahead, Nia Washington, soon to be Nia Choi, knew he was right. She'd found her home, not in a place, but in a person. Someone who saw her strength, who valued her mind, who loved her determination. Derek had tried to break her. Seung-jun had helped her build herself back stronger. That was the difference between possession and partnership, between control and love, between surviving and truly living. She'd chosen to live, and she'd chosen to live with him. Years had passed since that violent night when Derek's revenge plot crumbled, and Nia said yes to a future she never could have imagined. The city still sprawled below their penthouse, but so much had changed. Nia stood at those same windows now, watching the sunset paint the sky in amber and rose. Behind her she heard the sounds of home, laughter, footsteps, comfortable chaos. "Mom," a small voice called. "Dad says dinner's ready." She smiled, turning to see their daughter, Ji-hee, in the doorway. 6 years old, with Nia's curls and Seung-jun's determined chin, a perfect blend of both their worlds. "Coming, baby," Nia said, scooping the little girl up. Seung-jun appeared from the kitchen, now in his early 40s but still commanding. These days his empire was almost entirely legitimate, carefully transitioned over years, moving away from dangerous edges into businesses that let him sleep at night. Real estate, tech investments, import-export companies with nothing to hide. He'd done it for Nia and for Ji-hai, because he wanted his family to be proud of the Choi name. "Smells amazing," Nia said, kissing her husband. "Halmeoni's recipe," Seung-jun replied, referring to his mother, the woman who'd been skeptical at first but who'd grown to love Nia fiercely. They'd lost her last year, a peaceful passing that had still shaken Seung-jun, but Nia had been there, holding him through grief. That was what partnership meant, being there through everything. Over dinner, Ji-hai chattered about school, switching easily between English and Korean. She was already showing signs of her father's intelligence and her mother's independence. "Jasmine called," Nia mentioned as they cleaned up. "She wants to know if we're still coming to her gallery opening next week." Jasmine had pursued her dream of art curation, with backing from Nia and Seung-jun's foundation. These days she ran one of Chicago's most respected galleries. "Wouldn't miss it," Seung-jun said. Then, more quietly, "Derek's being released next month." Nia stilled. She'd known it was coming. His sentence had been 8 years. He'd served 6 with good behavior. "Does he know where we are?" "No, and he won't." Seung-jun's hand found hers. "Taeyang's been monitoring. Derek's moving to California. His lawyer made it clear that any attempt to contact you would violate his parole. I hope he finds peace," Nia said, and meant it. She'd long since stopped carrying anger. Prison had broken Derek's arrogance, replaced it with what his therapist called genuine remorse. He'd written one letter, 3 years ago, apologizing without asking for forgiveness. She'd never written back, but she'd kept the letter. "You're generous," Seung-jun observed. "That's because I won," Nia said simply. "I got everything I wanted. Freedom, partnership, love, family. He lost everything. There's no need for grudges when I'm this happy." Later that night, after Ji-hee was asleep, they lay tangled together in bed. "Do you ever regret it?" Seung-jun asked. "That night at Lumiere, saying yes to all of this?" Nia thought seriously. Her life had taken unpredictable turns, danger and violence, yes, but also joy and purpose and belonging. "Never," she said finally. "You gave me the chance to save myself. How could I regret that?" "We saved each other," Seung-jun corrected softly. "You taught me it was possible to love without losing myself." As sleep pulled at them, Nia thought about that terrified woman from years ago, the one who'd let Derek's hand close around her wrist. That woman had thought she was worthless, powerless. She'd been so wrong. The real Nia Washington, now Nia Choi, was strong, capable, worthy of love. She'd always been those things. She just needed someone to help her remember. And in helping her remember, Seung-jun had found his own redemption. A chance to protect instead of dominate, to build instead of destroy, to love instead of possess. They'd settled it, not in the violent way Derek had promised, but in the best way possible, by building a life together that honored both their strengths and healed both their wounds. Outside, the city lights twinkled like promises kept. Inside, a family slept peacefully. "We'll settle this when we get home." They had settled it. They were home, and it was more beautiful than either could have imagined in that moment, when their eyes first met across a restaurant floor, when danger and possibility collided, when two broken people found in each other the pieces they'd been missing all along.